Have you ever wondered about those mysterious lands that people almost never dare to set foot on? Places where a single wrong step could turn you into a missing person, where even a glance could cost you your life. Our Earth isn't just stunning scenery. It also hides deadly destinations where danger lurks right beneath the wild, raw beauty. Today's video will take you to 20 of the world's most dangerous places: the Bermuda Triangle, Snake Island, and North Sentinel Island, where the line between adventure and death is thinner than ever. Get ready, because this journey is not for the faint of heart. Bermuda Triangle, Atlantic Ocean. More than 1,000 ships and planes have vanished without a trace in the turquoise waters between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, a place known simply as the Bermuda Triangle. If you fly over this area, everything might seem calm, the sky clear and bright, but in just a few minutes, your compass might spin wildly like it's gone mad. Your radio might go silent, and your radar could vanish from the control screen. The last person to send a signal only had time to say, "We don't know where we are." And then, complete silence. People have tried every possible explanation: strange magnetic fields, methane gas bubbles on the seafloor, even theories about a space portal opening and closing like an invisible trap. But no one has ever found a final answer. All that remains are dusty files, recording departure dates, crew numbers, passenger lists, and a chilling empty space under return date. The Bermuda Triangle still lies quietly in the Caribbean Sea, welcoming ships and planes every year, as if the old stories were never told. Explorers feel the thrill of touching its edge, while the ocean promises nothing, silently keeping its secrets just a few feet below the surface, yet centuries away from any explanation. If you had the chance to fly through the Bermuda Triangle not knowing whether you'd make it back, would you dare to try? Snake Island, Brazil. Snake Island in Brazil doesn't bother to hide what it is. Every square meter of land can hold up to 5 Jararaca iloa vipers, snakes so venomous that a single bite can make your flesh rot while you're still breathing. No fences, no warning signs, no tickets for tourists. The only thing keeping people away is the swarm of snakes disappearing under dry leaves, waiting in the shadows for any footstep bold enough to test its luck. Locals call it Ilha da Queimada Grande, a name that sounds as harmless as a breezy coconut island. But for generations, it has followed one rule: people arrive, snakes guard, the weak leave as nothing but a rumor of the missing. What makes it even more intense is that it's just off the coast of Sao Paulo, so close you'd think you could paddle out for a picnic and come back by sunset. But people have drifted ashore there, never to be seen again, leaving behind stories that local fishermen still whisper on late nights. Don't let thirst become your one-way ticket. The irony is that the Jararaca ilhoa's venom, its lethal weapon, actually contains compounds that help in developing heart treatments. Snake Island, that's it. A tiny strip of land in the ocean, home to the world's deadliest snakes and a clear warning. We don't need fences. We have snakes. No one dares plant coconut trees or build a beach bar there. No one dreams of turning it into an eco-resort. And no one knows for sure how many Jararaca ilhoa vipers are still hidden under those trees, waiting for the next curious soul to step ashore. If you were stranded on Snake Island with only one thing, what would you bring? Stay tuned to see why the 20 most dangerous and terrifying places on Earth could make you disappear. If you step in and ask yourself, would you dare touch this line between life and death? North Sentinel Island, Indian Ocean. In the middle of the Andaman Islands in the Indian Ocean, North Sentinel Island is just a patch of green forest surrounded by blue sea, looking from satellite images like thousands of other deserted islands. But under that canopy lies one of the most mysterious and fiercely protected communities left on Earth: the Sentinelese, a tribe that has never accepted a single footprint from the modern world. There's no harbor, no beach welcoming guests. Anyone who dares approach, even rescue helicopters or research boats, will be met with a rain of arrows, wooden spears, or stones hurled straight from the shore. The Indian government has imposed an absolute ban, not just to protect them, but also to protect the curious from the arrows waiting, drawn and ready, behind the bushes. The outside world has tried to reach Sentinel. expedition ships, missionary groups, fearless anthropologists. Most came back empty-handed. Some never came back at all. The most recent attempt saw an American missionary secretly landing on the island, only to be killed right there on the sand. No one dared to retrieve the body. Chernobyl, Ukraine. Not far from Kyiv, hidden among thick forests and rusty train tracks, Chernobyl sits silent like a scar the whole world can't forget. In 1986, a nuclear reactor exploded, pushing the entire city of Pripyat, once the Soviet Union's industrial pride, into oblivion overnight. Back then, people fled in a rush, meals left unfinished, school books still on desks. Decades later, everything remains where it was, but covered in an invisible layer of radioactive dust, slowly eating away at it all. Trees grow through cracked concrete floors, wild animals roam abandoned supermarkets. Today, Chernobyl is a restricted zone, with guarded checkpoints and radiation meters hanging around visitors' necks. Yet there are still thrill-seekers sneaking through fences, following old railways, GoPro in hand to film moss-covered school hallways, and rusted Ferris wheels squeaking among wild maple trees. They come out with million-view videos, but no one really knows what a few hours breathing dust in that ghost city might leave behind in their blood, lungs, or the genes of future generations. Poveglia Island, Italy. Tucked away in the breezy Venetian lagoon, Poveglia looks at first glance like just an overgrown patch of land surrounded by calm waters. But few dare to pick up a paddle and head there, because for hundreds of years, this tiny island has carried a chilling nickname, the darkest place in Europe. Back when the plague ravaged Italy, Poveglia became a massive quarantine site. Anyone suspected of infection was shipped here and often never made it back to the mainland. It's estimated that tens of thousands of bodies were burned right on the island, ashes buried in the damp soil, no grave markers, no names. But the story didn't end there. By the 20th century, Poveglia had turned into a psychiatric hospital. Crumbling red brick walls, damp hallways, wind whispering like moans through rows of abandoned rooms. Locals in Venice still tell stories of a doctor who performed bizarre surgeries and patients who never left this place whole. Today, Poveglia is off-limits. Tourist boats steer clear. Locals don't dare anchor near its shores. When night falls, the ruined lighthouse and moss-covered brick walls seem to whisper the names of those who never got to leave. Don't look away, because the deeper we go, the more shocking it gets. And you won't believe what's coming next. Lake Natron in Tanzania. Seen from above, Lake Natron in Tanzania looks like a dark red mirror streaked with orange and pink. So surreal, it feels like the earth is forever reflecting a sunset. But don't let the beauty fool you. This water reaches up to 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and is so alkaline it burns like inhaling raw ammonia. Lake Natron is infamous for turning the unlucky into stone. Birds, bats, sometimes even small animals that stray into its salty, caustic mist. They fall in, freeze in place, and their skin and flesh get coated in minerals like a layer of lime, preserving their final pose. Every year, the shoreline quietly displays hundreds of these natural mummies, silent statues made by nature. Yet the paradox is that this very place is a breeding paradise for thousands of flamingos, the only birds daring enough to step onto the scalding, alkaline flats to build nests on the burning salty mud. They swirl like a pink cloud over the deadly water, surviving by knowing exactly where to stop between safety and death. Erta Ale, Ethiopia. No road signs, no tourist billboards. Yet in the cracked Danakil desert of Ethiopia exists a place where the earth itself opens its eyes to stare back at us, Erta Ale, one of the rare volcanoes that has held a permanent lava lake for thousands of years up to this day. By day, it's just a faint trail of smoke against the blazing sky, but at night, the mountain never sleeps. It spills out a glowing river of fire, rumbling like a living creature, ready to swallow anyone bold enough to step too close. It sounds enticing. A lake of fire in the desert, smoking and glowing like something out of a sci-fi film. But the reality is, Erta Ale doesn't just burn rock, It also releases toxic gases, sulfur, chlorine, acid, strong enough to make your lungs give up after just a few breaths. The Afar people, the nomadic tribe living nearby, call it by a simple name: the Smoking Mountain. To them, it's where the gods show their rage, the lava flow like a god's veins. Beautiful yet off-limits to those who stray too near. Daredevil travelers still come, edging along the crater's rim, snapping selfies with the river of fire. But one shift in the wind, and that final photo might just be the last image carried home. Erta Ale needs no steel fence. It guards itself with fire, poison gas, and the Earth's cold indifference. Anyone who wants to see its beauty, go ahead. Just don't forget that beneath it all, the Earth is quietly boiling, waiting to swallow the next reckless soul. Oymyakon, Siberia. Oymyakon. The name alone sounds like a whisper of ice. This is the coldest inhabited place on Earth, where the thermometer has dipped to -71 degrees Celsius, -95 degrees Fahrenheit. So cold your breath freezes on your lips and eyelashes turn into icy needles. In Oymyakon, winter isn't just a season, it's a sentence. Cars are never turned off outdoors because the engine would freeze solid within minutes. Clothes aren't for style, they're for keeping your skin from tearing apart in the cutting wind. Children still go to school at -50 degrees Celsius, -58 degrees Fahrenheit, because here, -50 degrees Celsius is just chilly by local standards. Everything, water, soil, human breath, turns to stone. To drink water, you carve ice. To eat fish, you bite into it frozen raw. No vegetables, no fruit. Meals are reindeer meat, fat, dried fish. The only thing that doesn't freeze is human will. Sometimes a gust sweeps through the village, lifting clouds of snow into the air. People still nod hello to each other, fur hats pulled tight, leaving only the eyes that are used to watching their breath vanish into the wind. No one comes to Oymyakon seeking beauty. People come here, if they're brave enough, just to see how humans survive when the Earth tries to swallow them in ice. And in this place so cold, even fire needs to be kept warm. Every question of, how do you live here, has only one answer: you adapt, or you become frozen stone, lying silent among the pine trees. Stay until the end, because the most dangerous places are still waiting for you just ahead. Mar do Diabo, Dragon's Triangle, Japan. Just off Japan's coast, out in the Pacific Ocean, there's a stretch of water that local fishermen speak of with both fear and respect. The Mar do Diabo, also known as the Dragon's Triangle, often called the twin brother of the Bermuda Triangle on the other side of the ocean. At first glance, the sea here looks calm and deep blue. What? It was once a rich fishing ground. But for hundreds of years, small boats, large fishing vessels, even modern research ships, they set sail and simply vanish. No wreckage, no distress signals, no bodies ever wash ashore. All that remains are scattered records. Ships lost contact, compasses spun wildly, radios crackled with static and then fell silent. In 1952, a Japanese research vessel carrying more than 30 people disappeared without a trace, forcing the government to cancel all further surveys in the area for years. Old fishermen won't cast their nets near it, and younger ones avoid crossing it alone, especially at night. Science has tried to explain it: magnetic anomalies, undersea landslides, methane gas seeps. But no answer is certain. Even the old Japanese villagers living by the shore just shake their heads. That sea, if it wants to keep someone, it keeps them. Lake Nyos, Cameroon. From a distance, Lake Nyos in Cameroon looks like a smooth green mirror, tucked among the hills of the tropical countryside. No smoke, no strange smell, no sign that it once unleashed one of the strangest disasters of the 20th century. One night in August 1986, the calm lake suddenly released a huge invisible cloud of CO2, heavier than air, that crept down into the villages by the shore like a silent ghost. Within minutes, over 1,700 people and thousands of livestock collapsed. No wounds, no cries for help. They suffocated in their sleep. Scientists later discovered that beneath the lake lies a massive pocket of CO2, trapped by an underground volcano. When the pressure builds up enough, the lake becomes a gas bomb. erupting and releasing the deadly, colorless, odorless cloud, able to kill faster than any poison gas. Today, Lake Nyos has a venting system in place meant to release the pressure slowly, but no one knows for sure when that hidden gas bomb might erupt again. And that glassy surface, so calm and peaceful, still lies there as if it never silently wiped out an entire village in a single breath. Yungas Death Road, Bolivia. On the map of Bolivia, Yungas is just a narrow mountain road linking the capital, La Paz, to the humid rainforest below. But in real life, it carries a name that sends chills down anyone's spine: the Death Road. This road twists along sheer cliffs, with no guardrails, no barriers. Just a few inches off and you plunge straight down a 600-meter drop. Thick fog, sudden downpours, waterfalls splashing directly onto the muddy path. Every curve is a life-or-death gamble. There was a time when this was the only vital route for trucks, buses, and cargo to climb up and down the mountains. Every year, hundreds of people never reached their destination. Vehicles fell into the abyss, vanishing into the mist and dense jungle below. Stone markers still record the names of drivers, passengers, and those winding turns where one blink behind the wheel meant disappearing into the foggy forest. Today, the Death Road no longer carries heavy trucks. But ironically, it's now a holy ground for thrill-seeking cyclists. People pay good money just to throw themselves down the steep slope, hugging the cliff edge, sweat mixing with rain, bike tires skidding over slick gravel, and down below the same drop waits, unchanged after all these years. Aral Sea, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. Long ago, the Aral Sea was one of the world's largest inland seas. Vast waters, bustling fishing boats, villages thriving on the waves lapping the shore. Then, massive Soviet-era irrigation projects drained every river feeding the sea, leaving behind what's there today, a graveyard of rusting ships stranded on white sand. Here, huge fishing trawlers sit frozen in the desert, where once there were deep, thriving waters. Now only salty dust and wind carry grains of salt for hundreds of kilometers. When the wind rises, this dust brings leftover chemicals, creeping into lungs, clinging to clothes, leaving silent illnesses in the villages that survive along the shrinking shore. But it's not just salty dust. People whisper about secret biological research stations once hidden on islands in the old Aral Sea, places where the Soviets tested bacteria and wartime viruses. When the sea receded, those islands turned into peninsulas, and no one knows for sure what's still buried beneath the cracked, salty earth. Today, the Aral Sea only has waves in memory. Sometimes tourists wander through, standing among the rusted ship skeletons, listening to the wind howl through rotting cabins, wondering how a sea so vast could vanish right before humanity's eyes, leaving behind a desert of dead salt, a graveyard of rusted metal, and rumors that never really die. Lost city of Ubar, Atlantis of the desert, Arabia. In the endless stretch of red sands of the Rub al-Khali Desert, known as the largest sea of sand on Earth, there once stood a city whispered among Arabs as Ubar, also called the Atlantis of the desert. Legend says Ubar was once the richest hub on the Arabian Peninsula, a vital stop on the ancient incense and camel trade routes. Tribal stories tell of towering watchtowers rising from the dunes, marketplaces brimming with gold and silver, tents that never turned off their lamps at night. Then, one night, an unexpected sandstorm came and swallowed it all. Ubar vanished from maps, leaving behind no walls, date palm gardens, or wells. Only rumors remain that anyone who wanders into the sands that once hid the city will hear the wind whispering like human voices, calling their name in the dark. By the late 20th century, satellite images revealed hints of ruins. Stray roads lost in the sand sea, traces of unusually deep wells. Archaeological teams dug and filled them back in. But no one can say for sure how much truth still lies buried under the ever-shifting dunes. Today, the nomads around the Rub al-Khali still avoid crossing the old land of Ubar. They believe that whoever steps into the talking sands, even if they come back out, they never come back the same, because there are secrets the desert keeps only for itself. Vostok Station, Antarctica. On a map of Antarctica, covered entirely in white ice, Vostok Station is just a tiny dot. Yet it's where cold has broken every human record ever measured, minus 89.2 degrees Celsius, 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to freeze a single breath into ice shards in seconds. Here, there's no sunrise each day, only wind that slices like razors and a gray sky that lingers for weeks. People live sealed inside metal blocks, completely dependent on heaters, diesel fuel, and supply runs that can take months to cross cracked ice mountains. But what Vostok Station guards isn't just bone-cutting winds or endless darkness. It's Lake Vostok, a massive hidden lake trapped under more than 4,000 meters, 2.5 miles, of ice for millions of years, an underground world that has never seen sunlight, possibly holding ancient life forms no one has ever laid eyes on. Every drill that pierces this ice carries hope and fear. What will we find when the surface cracks open? A clue to Earth's history? Or an ancient microbe ready to render decades of research meaningless? For now, Vostok Station still sits there, a fragile dot of warmth in a vast ocean of ice, guarding whatever secrets lie beneath, at least until humans are brave enough, and maybe mad enough, to reach the very bottom of the deepest ice on the planet. Danakil Desert, Ethiopia. Even if you've heard every story about the world's harshest deserts, Danakil is still something entirely different. It's not just scorching. It's where the earth cracks open, steams, and boils as if the planet is revealing wounds that never healed. Temperatures hover around 45 to 50 degrees Celsius, 122 degrees Fahrenheit, year-round, with no trees for shade, no rain for relief. In this heat sea, the ground spits out toxic green acid lakes, bubbling yellow sulfur springs, white steam, and an acrid smell like rust mixed with bleach. A few careless breaths of the gas here can burn your lungs raw, and yet in this hell on earth, people survive. The Afar people cling to the edges of the salt fields, splitting crystals by hand under sun strong enough to melt a truck tire. They haul salt blocks for dozens of kilometers, trading sweat for food, muscle for cans of water carried from places far beyond the horizon. Travelers still come to Danakil, not to relax, but to stand speechless among boiling mud pools and acid pits, asking themselves, why does a place so brutal still have human footprints? Here the earth quietly reminds us, not everything scorching is just golden sand. Some deserts breathe, with poison gas, with acid springs, and last long enough to teach people this lesson: survive or vanish into salt and steam. Atacama Desert, Chile. Atacama might sound like just another dry desert, but parts of it haven't felt a drop of rain in over 400 years. This massive stretch of land, covering hundreds of square kilometers, lies flat and silent like the moon, red like Mars. So much so that NASA brings its robots here to test them before sending them to the red planet. By day, Atacama bakes under harsh sun. Its rock and salt so bright they look dusted in white powder. By night, the cold cuts like a blade, and the sky is so black you can see the Milky Way like a glowing crack hanging overhead. It sounds beautiful, but Atacama is no gentle place. Those who get lost here don't need wild animals or sandstorms, just thirst. Sweat evaporates the moment it appears, lips split, throats burn, lungs feel like they're breathing dry salt. By the time you realize you're lost, all that's left is a body slowly worn down by wind and sand, quietly resting among the mute stones. La Rinconada Gold Mine, Peru. Perched high in the Andes at an altitude of 5,100 meters, over 16,700 feet, La Rinconada is not a place for the faint of heart. This is the highest gold mine in the world, where thousands of people crowd together to live and dig for gold on land, where the air is so thin that just breathing stings the lungs. At this altitude, no plants grow. Shacks cling to the rocky slopes, makeshift tents huddle around the dark mine entrances. By day, people line up to descend into the mines, digging through the permafrost to scrape out small chunks of ore. By night, icy winds whistle through the cracks in the rocks, mixing with the smell of mercury, the toxic metal miners still use to extract gold, casually dumped into the soil and drinking water. There are no police patrolling regularly, No laws protect the miner's health. There is only gold, and the empty promise of a chance to strike it rich. Everyone here believes they'll be luckier than the last, that they'll dig up enough gold to leave the mountain for good. But many stay trapped for life, lungs buried under ice, bones buried deep in the tunnels. Bikini Atoll, Marshall Islands. Lying quietly in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Bikini Atoll sounds like a name that should conjure up images of white sand and turquoise waves. But in reality, it's one of the most infamous nuclear test sites of the 20th century. From 1946 to 1958, the United States turned this small island into a backyard proving ground for atomic and hydrogen bombs. Bombs hundreds of times more powerful than Hiroshima were detonated here, ripping apart the sea, burying entire fleets of warships in coral graves on the ocean floor. Islanders were forced to leave. Some returned, only to abandon it again when radiation readings remained alarmingly high, seeping into the soil, the coconuts, and the groundwater. Those radioactive traces still linger under the island's deceptively beautiful white sand. Today, Bikini Atoll has no permanent residents, but it's become a daring destination for thrill-seeking divers. They descend to the rusted wrecks of sunken warships, touching relics of the nuclear arms race, resurfacing with equal parts excitement and unease. The radiation is still there, and the curtain over the past was never really closed. Mount Sinabung, Indonesia. In northern Sumatra, Mount Sinabung from a distance looks like just another cloud-topped peak, lush with green forests, no different from hundreds of other volcanoes in Indonesia. But beneath that forest cover lies a restless beast, waking and sleeping on its own schedule, ready to spew ash and lava at any moment. After centuries of silence, Sinabung suddenly roared back to life in 2010. And it hasn't truly slept since. Sudden eruptions have buried entire villages in scorching ash, turned green rice fields into gray wastelands, snapped trees like twigs, and made rooftops disappear under layers of ash thick as cement. People living around the mountain have no choice but to stay near its mouth, growing rice, raising chickens, always watching the smoke column. They keep evacuation bags by the door, motorbikes fueled and ready in the yard, just waiting for the warning to drop everything and run. Every year, curious travelers still venture to Sinabung's base, hoping to capture that moment when the volcano shoots skyward like a black firework. But here, nature gives no warnings. A peaceful night can turn into a pitch-black dawn, ash swallowing sunlight, villages disappearing in hours. Komodo Island, Indonesia. Where else in the world can you walk through the wild knowing the creature lurking behind the bushes is a real living dragon? No cages, no fences, only Komodo, the one island where true dragons still guard the land like the prehistoric age never ended. Here, Komodo dragons grow up to 3 meters long, 10 feet, and weigh as much as a grown man. They can sprint up to 20 kilometers per h, 12 miles per hour, to snatch prey just a few steps away. Sound like a dinosaur from ancient times? It basically is. Komodo is the last piece of a world where most apex predators have gone extinct, except for these silent dragons that still rule the island like kings. Tourists still flock to Komodo, excited to follow these giant lizards basking in the sun by the beach, but just one bite, and the venom in their saliva stops your blood from clotting. The wound turns septic and rots away bit by bit. There are no cages here, no chains, only jungle trails, footpaths, and a handful of guides with bamboo sticks, hoping you're smart enough not to get too close. Earth is always beautiful in ways that humans can never fully control. The places in Uymyakon, or 20 most dangerous and terrifying places on Earth that could make you disappear. If you step in, are a reminder that nature keeps its dark corners, ones we may never fully understand. Will you choose to stay far away, or will your curiosity one day push you closer? Leave a comment and tell me, which of these places would you dare to step into? And don't forget to hit subscribe on Eagle Discovery so we can keep exploring even more chilling secrets together.